Welcome back to Gloved Up Garage. So today my keypad just arrived in the mail. This came from a dealer in Cookeville, Tennessee. They go by Ford OEM parts on eBay. Got it here in just a couple of days. So I'm gonna snap it into this hole, plug it into that plug right there. I'll reroute that back through the door where it's supposed to be plugged in, actually to the old keypad. And then we'll plug this thing up and see if we can make the keypad work again. So here's the keypads. The bottom one is the old one. The new one is on top. You can tell the buttons are much more crisp and not as dull. The plugs are exactly the same. And I had to roll the window up to reroute the harness back through. Basically the way this works is this plugs into that harness right there. And then when this goes into the door, there's a clip. You can see these little edges right here and here. There's a clip that slides on from this end to this end on the keypad. So that just pops in like that. There's no rubber gasket behind it, which is kind of weird. You would think it would have a little piece of rubber. Well, no. Yeah, there is a little foam piece of gasket. Okay. All right, so that goes in there. I'll reach up in there and get the clip on it, and then I will give it a whirl, see if it works. And this is the clip, and it goes up in there kind of like this and engages those two flat spots on the bottom of the keypad. Okay, so the keypad's mounted. I've got the clip on there. This is nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. On the label of this driver's door module, there's a master code. That's that keyless code number right here, 57378. So we'll come around here and we'll enter 57378, and my locks just worked. And hitting some of these numbers, sometimes you can get, so 5, 7, yeah, there it'll go into different modes. You can pop the trunk on some of these. The owner's manual tells you what all you can do with this, but you can actually enter a bunch of different things. So 57378. And you can hit buttons to turn features on and off. I don't want to mess with it too much, but all right, so that's fixed. I'm gonna go ahead and put the door panel back together. Still haven't received my trim bezel for the window switches and the lock switch just yet. Found one on eBay, so I'm waiting for that to get here, but I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together on the door and at least get the door panel back in. So the next thing I wanna do, I'm gonna get this water shield back up into place before I put the door panel back together. It's got a sticky material right here around the border. Sometimes you can get it clean enough and it'll re-stick itself, but it's much better than like some of the Hondas and stuff they use, Butyl, which is like a really sticky rubber. I'm glad Ford didn't do that on these. To get that to stick back up while I get the door panel on, I'm just going to use some of this, it's kind of like a waterproof masking tape. We used to use it a lot in the body shops that I worked in, and it does really good. So it's kind of a temporary hold as I get this back up into place, and then you put the door panel back over it. It'll stay in place once it's up, but I just want to use little strips of this to hold it in place while the door panel is going on, so it doesn't like fold back under itself and cause any problems with the door panel. So I'm going to pause here, get some tape on it, and I'll be right back. All right, so I got the water shield back on. Next thing it needs to go back into place is this driver's door module. You can see there's a little tab that sticks off the door, a little clip on the mount on the module itself, and then there's a couple of screw holes, one there and one down here at the bottom. They had like Phillips head screws in them, so I will get those put back in, and then we'll move on to the next part. Module's remounted. Next thing we're going to do is put the door panel back on. When you're putting these on, especially when you have the lock indicator that comes up through the panel, you always want to make sure you get this lined up first. And then the next thing you have to worry about is this groove right here and the molding. That's where the top of the door panel sits in. Now on the Marauders, the Crown Vics, Grand Marquis, and I believe Town Cars are about the same. The door panel actually comes up and then you pull it away from the door. And this will go back together very similar. So I'm going to try to get it back, and then I'm going to try to bring it down, and at the same time I'm bringing it down, I want to make sure that I get this knob lined up through the hole in the top of the door panel. and then I can bring it down and seat it and push it in. This only has, there's a couple of screws at the bottom, a couple of screws on the inside, and that's pretty much it. That's all that holds it on. The tape, you can tell it's not really sticking that good. It's like this piece here is coming off. This one's wanting to come off. Again, it's supposed to be a temporary thing just to hold that water shield onto the door while I get the panel on. All right, so the door panel seated. One thing I forgot to mention, make sure you plug in if you have the electric seat. The trunk release and the fuel door release, I had to plug those in. And then basically I had it kind of, the panel was tilted outward. It was hard to do with one hand or I would have recorded it, but had it tilted outward, got all that plugged in, brought it up. Make sure to get the bottom tabs into the door first because they're longer than the top ones purposely so that you can tilt it out. But now that that's in, I've got one screw here on the end, the two at the bottom, and then one screw right inside of there. That little trim piece goes back on, which it's in good shape. And then I can snap the door handle back in and put the screw that holds the door handle in. I'll go ahead and get that knocked out. So I got all my screws back in. This one and these on the outside, 7mm heads. I set my clutch really low on my snap-on driver. Behind this is a Torx, which is a T27, and then this little cover snaps back over top of it. That was the only one that kind of threw me for a loop for a second. I had to go dig out my Torx. I wasn't expecting it when I took the door apart, but I always lay everything out in here. Still got a lot of cleaning to do in the interior. So I've got my window switches and my mirror switch. Pop back into this. I'll come back and change this later once I get the new piece because this just snaps in. You can see mine's broken. It won't stay in place. You can try to play with the wires in there to get it to kind of stay, but it's just not going to stay. It needs a little tab back here at the back to like hold it down. There's a clip here and a clip here. So for the most part, until I get that, driver's door is done. Keyless entry works again, and the keypad on the outside works again. So I call that success. I will look for the next thing to do, and I will make a video on that as well. So stay tuned for more improvements and repairs on our Marauder project. Something I wanted to do real quick is show you. I started the touch-up on the doors. I don't want to leave the keys in there. So I was able to start touching up these doors. Some of the scratches on here that were really bad, I just used some Duplicolor touch-up out of a bottle. You can see they're much better than what they were when I did the first walk around. I've still got a few spots down here on the lower part of the door I'm going to touch up before I'm completely done. And I started working back here, so this is what it looked like before. It's all the way through to the primer, and then this is after some touch-up. So 10 feet away, disappears. You get up close, obviously you can see it, but the paint on these cars is very thin to begin with. I basically just want to make it look presentable from a distance. That's all I'm really going for. I just want to make it look better than what it does now. Until I can get to the point where I can blow this thing apart and completely repaint it top to bottom. That'll work for me for now. So stay tuned. Make sure to like the video if you like what you saw here. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you will see when we upload new videos. And I will catch you on the next one.